Yeah, came back from the grave, used to owe me. Reincarnation, that flow heat. Underrated, underestimated, waited a couple years to get a payment. Look at me, I got it now. Growing up, I was only...
All right, welcome. This is Tanner, also known as TJ Card Collector. This is SRS Cards, also known as Drake. And this is the summary episode, basically the pilot of what's going to be Card Brokers podcast. We're here, obviously, to provide content for the creators, but also the outside looking in. Just because, you want to see it, you don't want to be in it, you want to be in it, you are in it, just news for everybody and hopefully some good times talking cards.
Yep, for sure. Like you said, I am SRS Cards. I'm Drake. I don't know if you guys know me. I'm pretty active on Twitter. I know TJ met me because we play COD together. We've had a lot of good times, just like bullshitting in COD parties. And we're like, you know what? We might as well probably do some content together or something in cards.
Yeah, basically. And obviously everybody's got different paths in the way they got there, whether you're in the group or out of the group. Mainly, we're a Twitter community, Discord, especially obviously for card brokers. But then basically, everybody's got a journey, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to have people on. We're going to do little clips of what basically is going on within our group, outside our group, in cards, in life, and how that affects what we do and what we enjoy as a hobby.
And then obviously we're going to get into personal stuff, like where TJ's been, like how I kind of started my stuff. TJ, how did you kind of get into cards in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always been into cards. It's just been something passion of mine. My dad introduced me to it back in the day. We watched sports together our whole life. My family's from Alabama. So we're big Alabama football fans, and it branched out from there as far as
Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah, Roll Tide. I actually go to FSU though, so I'm not a FSU fan at all. I'm just just here for the education. But yeah, I got into it that way. I had a little bit of time away from it. Just obviously you're a kid, you go into different hobbies. So I stopped in about 2012. Well, 2019, I actually got into. I had a girlfriend at the time, and her mom at the start of COVID was like, we were kind of stuck at her house because of different regulations.
Stupid shit.
We actually did have regulations in Florida at one time. Glad we don't anymore.
You did have regulations.
Yeah, so I'm glad those ended quickly. But anyway, and her mom was like, "Yo, you got to get a job." So I moved back to Tallahassee. I was down there in Sarasota, and I bought a collection off a kid. His dad was a card collector and had owned a store. And I guess he passed away. I think he passed away, and he just sold his collection. I got it for like $200. And I actually pulled out of it. It was just so much good stuff. Kobe rookies, Shaq rookies, and stuff like that. I got back into it. It reignited it. Went and got my old collection.
Yeah.
And I pulled actually this card, but this isn't the original card. I just bought it, a better version of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1965 Mantle. So nice. So 1965 Mantle. I bought that in the collection, and I used it, traded it in for current cards, and just sold the current because I knew, obviously, just being new and starting that. And then I got into flipping. So that was where everything took off. That's where I built my capital at, was flipping. And I
have a question about that. I got a question about that. How did you do the retail flip? How did you find retail? Like, what was your thing? Like, did you just randomly pop in Walmarts? Like, how did it all work out for you? Because at the time during COVID, like cards, it was basically impossible to get in stores. You remember when Target was doing drops and people were going nuts and like they were fighting outside stores. The lines were ridiculous. Like, how did you find your way around and navigate that stuff?
So luckily, I go to FSU, so I live in Tallahassee, Florida, which is the capital. It's not really like a big city, but it's a college town, college and legislators. That's all it is. And legislators usually aren't out looking for cards, and college kids weren't here. So we had about 12 stores around the general area with about an hour of driving. And I became pretty persistent in it. And I mentioned it to my dad. My dad's a manager at Walmart, but I actually didn't start there. Like, he didn't really make any great connections until later. But he told me, like, here's, they usually do it once a week, but I don't really know when we do it because I'm a nighttime manager. So I just started going and, interacting with people, and met the guy here, a local. He's the Card Plug on Twitter now. And
That's a great name. That's a great name.
So I took that, and I made a lot of money with that, and really just built our capital using somebody else to float us, and we monopolized it in our area for the longest time. If you're from Tallahassee,
Sorry.
No, I'm not.
That's too good. So how did you I only really know I just got into Card Brokers. Did you see how I got into Card Brokers? My message.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I said that Cards Max was going to beat my ass, and they better let me in. And that's how I actually like started my like subscription to Card Brokers. So obviously, this group's a lot of fun. I haven't gotten anything like in Card Brokers yet, but I did kind of the same thing. I had buddies in my local area, like, yo, there's wax here. Should I snag? Like, yo, even right now, yo, there's some optic basketball that's kind of out in my area. And the person who was buying all the wax during COVID, who I was getting pissed at, aka you, I like that person stopped buying it. So like now we're good in our area for now. And I've just been picking up wax. What's your approach right now? Since you've been gone from the game, are you changing your style? Because, you know, retail wax is not what it was doing when you were here. What's going to be your approach?
Yeah, so I took an approach. I seen a little fall last year, and I kind of predicted, because I knew I made some good connections at one of the unnamed distributors for Walmart, 2-letter word, and yeah, so I made some good connections there, and they told me about a price hike that was coming and meetings they were having. I listened into some meetings. You know, I appreciate my plugs at that holding company.
Shout out plugs.
And
shout out the best plugs in business.
So I had a little head start on that, and I just rearranged my approach, went to Dallas. So I started, you know, going to Dallas with $2,000 a piece. I went there. My first show was $2,000 and a bunch of PSA 9s. And
bro, you have no clue.
It was brutal, man. It was brutal.
I've had some cracks on me before.
I was out of money, dude. And I made a lot of money off of that one, and I kept growing my wax back home while it was still in supply. And really built from there. I that's how my approach is now as I go to card shows, and I obviously haven't been in a while. But when I was going to card shows using my connections that I'd made to make sales. And that's what I did.
And even with like at the National, the way you guys were kind of doing it, even seeing like all the different approaches, you know, like David On Point Cards, he takes the approach at National to just rip a bunch of stuff so he can get more panini packs. And then like you guys just rip the hell out of those panini packs. Like the how fast that flip was at the National, and then like the approach you guys were taking, it was awesome to see. And that's why it's kind of important, I think, you to have your voice out there. And then even people like Ryan or people like even Z-Med, you know, those guys are kind of leading the charge for this generation of hobby collectors. Where do you see, you know, the market going when wax comes back? Do you see, you know, hobbies exploding like they do, or do you see like you said, there's going to be a hike in retail wax? Do you think the market's still going to be pretty high, like for you to flip wax if you still have that connect?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to be that approach. I think retail flippers will always exist, but the margins just don't make sense when you have other jobs. So for me, I'm obviously going to be an accountant. I'm starting at Deloitte down in
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate that. Starting at Deloitte down in June, moving to Tampa. So yeah, I don't really think it's going to be there for the long haul. I do think wax is a little overpriced, some of the older wax, because you're not going to pull cards that are going to make you money. So what's the point? So I think they're playing on ignorance right now with people who rip newcomers and stuff. And I think, as always, the market's going to adjust like it did. I think wax is probably going to drop a little bit. You know, I don't know per se.
It's weird because there hasn't been a drop in so long, so we can't really tell yet. You know,
if you look at it, you can't really. I think we played off of the 2018-2019 draft class for far too long, because we got exhausted of that, and now we're looking at like people were collecting Sekou, DeAndre Hunter,
just cracks, stuff you like Cam. Okay, honestly, you had what do you have? You had Cam.
Cam Reddish.
So that like those type of people, are you still going to take that approach and go to those type of talents, or have you realized that that's kind of a longer term play? Because like he may have the talent, but like not right now. I kind of noticed that in cards.
Yeah, the biggest thing I learned was just like it doesn't matter about talent; it's perception. And what taught me that was Trae Young. So when Trae Young had that big flopping thing back in 2021, where everybody was like, "Oh, he's a flopper, and all that stuff," and when at that same time, James Harden was pushing himself out of Houston, and their cards were dropping. So talent didn't matter. You were having, you know, Kevin Porter Jr.'s and Michael Porter Jr.'s going for higher than Trae Young and James Harden. Obviously, the talent wasn't there. The accolades weren't there, but people are more prospecting than anything. So I think it's always going to be like that, especially in baseball. When you get Bowman and stuff like that, I don't think it's really based on talent. I think you have to kind of predict personality, which is a little bit different. So I know MKG, who obviously is very successful, he started buying up DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter is immensely talented, but when you've got Trae Young and you've got John Collins that are going to be on the highlight reels, where does DeAndre Hunter fit in to have that growth in
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the market in general and like kind of the ideas that we have like moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about like release dates, drops, stuff like that. Is there an important time to kind of lock in these next few weeks? Because the schedule came out. I haven't looked at it completely. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm actually at Atlanta right now. Yo, actually, check it. I got some viewers in here with me, boy. DCI represents. Let's go. But
shout out DCI.
So I'm here working in Atlanta with DCI. I do some stuff with them. I work on the sales team here. And cards is just seeing cards from this perspective rather than, outside the business. It changed kind of my ideal and my approach of what I wanted to do and how I'm going to prospect. It's like, you kind of see the liquidity with some of the cards in the market with talent and also like Trae Young, if he has a 40-point game today, like there was a little kid telling me, hey, Trae Young's at 36 points right now. So like realistically, is the market that quick to where if you are at a card show and a player snaps, are you going to be able to emotionally give that card or sell that card to somebody else? Because it's that quick now. I don't know where to stop. You know what I mean? How fast is the flip? Like, what is your goal and how long does it take you to sell a card?
Hey, profit's profit. And that's something I learned because I was holding on to people that I believed in, but I was like, oh, their market doesn't justify, or their play isn't justifying their market or vice versa. So if I don't think their play is justifying the market, obviously I'm going to be a lot quicker to sell. My biggest one, I invested a lot in Darius Garland. And people were like, oh, hold him. So that was one of my big guys. I got roasted on Twitter because I said,
hey, look at this.
Sorry,
bro, pick these up in Atlanta today. Look how locked in we are. Let's go. Darius Garland, Prism Silver.
I love Garland, man. I love Garland.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then I got your boy LeBron too. Can't ever pass up cheaper LeBron. But yeah, I think that's a good point. And even with DCI and stuff like that, I think there's an opportunity here to like do some different things. And there's like you talked about margins there with like retail wax. Do you see anything happening with, we thought it was going to be SGC. We thought it was going to be maybe GSC or what's the G one? The G or CSG. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. CSG. And then also you saw HGA come in. Where do you see, is PSA going to come down from their prices or are people going to start sending their cards in other places?
I don't think they have to. Honestly, I think it's prestige and it's people who know cards they're going to send into PSA or BGS. Mm-hmm. Shout out Dallas. But personally, I don't think you're going to see a change in that. Obviously, if it's vintage, you're going to go the PSA route. And if it's a, normal 35 stock card, I'd go PSA. Obviously, when you get into RPAs and stuff like that, you're going to go BGS, or if you get a grade from DCI plug.
Yeah. Hey, let me explain kind of like DCI because I know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's known in the card community and Twitter community, but I don't know how well it's known outside of like the industry. So like DCI started out and they were just like submitting cards at first for people, raw card reviews. They were huge PSA subs, like one of the biggest ones in the country. And then they decided, you know what, we're just going to start doing this thing. And Jason, right here, shout out, Jason. And full disclosure, I work for DCI and I represent DCI, and I want to make sure people know I do work. Like this is like part of my job. Like, but I also I don't attach myself to brands that I don't believe in. And I say that constantly because I really do believe that. Like DCI is doing something different than everybody else. And they're offering something to the flippers of the market, in my opinion, along with, long-term collectors or people who are just getting their collections, out of their closet since 1975. And like they collect, or like 1999. And they have all these rookies of like badass baseball players that you see. You're like, or even like Kobe rookies. You wouldn't, the amount of Kobe rookies that still get brought through are crazy. And it's like, I think it's going to be for the collectors to see if it's worth sending to PSA or BGS or SGC. And I look at it as like card insurance for myself. So like, I don't trust myself to grade cards, but I do trust Jason, or I do trust our other graders. Carter's right. Another one of them. So I trust those guys to look over my stuff. And I'd rather, spend $10 and not pay for $150 8. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, or 100, it depends on what you do. And like, that's the approach I chose.
It goes back to what you were saying about facets of making money. So obviously DCI is making money doing what they're doing, and they're seeing the profits of that, but people are also benefiting from that. And I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier about different ways to make money. So I make money differently than you make money, then DCI makes money, then ZMed makes money, then MKG, then Ryan. It's just so many different facets. It's becoming its own little economy.
It's like it's the industry, right? It's like that's how industry kind of works. And realistically, I'm not going to say we're at the beginning of the industry, because this is what people have been doing since the beginning of cards. Like, it's just what it is. But I think there's more opportunity for the flip. And realistically, it's like, I think liquid money is what I like to call it more so, because like if you buy the right shit, you're not going to get stuck and you can be in this thing forever. But if you buy the wrong shit, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to hate collecting, and you're also going to go broke. So it's like, make sure you do your research and be smart. Just don't do stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to make sure you're maintaining collecting in it too, because that's what, if it was centered around collecting. When I got back in it, I was just money focused, and I had a little collection, and I would collect players, and I thought it'd be more like an investment collection. And I've gotten more back into collecting, and it's more fun. I mean, I get on Twitter, show my cards that I get that I'm, really enjoying it, and it gets me back into it. It's hard to get back into it if you're just focused on money, because I can make money elsewhere. It's not going to be necessarily the same type, but fortunately, I built a brand around myself, and Card Brokers built a brand that I've attached myself to, and they've opened
and you've done a great job. It's obvious you've done a great job since you got into cards, just marketing your entire brand in general, and just yourself, and just the way you carry yourself. Like, in my opinion, you carry your own opinion, which I think is the most important thing in cards. I don't think you can follow, like, you can't just like follow what everybody says. That's not how this shit works. You got to come up with your own ideas. You got to look and see ahead what the future market's going to look like, just like you would shoes. Because like, I know a lot of people collect shoes who are in card brokers, or they flip shoes, or they flip whatever they decide to buy and flip. Right. I do think it's just important to remember like what's fun about it, because if you just stay within what's fun, and like, obviously it's not going to always be fun. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be stuff like that. But like, really, Cards Max says it all the time too. Just have fun with it, and like, the money will come. You just got to trust your process and have a plan. Realistically, you always have to kind of have a plan for your cards. You can't just fire from the hip all the time. That's how you fuck up. Realistically,
exactly. That's really goes back to just, what do you plan to do? What do you, where have you been? Where did you start? And what you were asking me at the beginning is you had a different approach when you got in than I did. I was
ripping 2020 certified football, dog. That's how stupid I was. You know what I mean? It's like, I came a long way. Realistically, I'm just understanding wax.
My first hobby box was 2019 certified, and like, I'm an obsessionist. So I like, when I get into something like cards, I try to just learn and learn and learn and learn. And I realized like, certified looks good. It's not premium stock as far as the thickness of the card. It's not the same material. And I just learned that doesn't hold as much value, similar to how.
And it's ugly, low key. Like, it's cool, but it's like, it's not like, everyone goes to Topps Chrome, everyone goes to Bowman Chrome, everybody goes to Prism, everybody goes to Optic. It's just like, our generation doesn't really fuck with the paper, but like, we like the money is why. You know what I mean? It's just like
unless it's a rookie ticket.
The paper,
unless it's a rookie ticket.
Realistically, like obviously contenders, there's certain boxes, and I will go over those in the future. We'll do a deep dive in some other podcasts, just to give people kind of an idea of like, what we've learned, if it's worth it. Just like all the people who put blogs or put like posts in the Card Brokers chat, like if they have something to say, if we're going, like, this is also going to be a place where we can take questions from people. Like, I think there should be somewhere where we have people ask us, we take 5 questions from the chat from that week or something, and we'll put it in here. You know what I mean? It's just like, we need other people's perspective and other people's questions to actually know the market. So like, we got to talk amongst ourselves, and we got to get an idea of like, okay, what are y'all buying? You know what I mean? Or like, what's going to be popular 6 months from now? Because I buy cards, probably the cards I feel like flipping, if I think they're going to double within 6 months. And like, then if profit's profit, then you kind of run into some, you lose some. But I think if you have that approach, you mitigate your risk.
You have that approach, and then you have, what Ryan and, I do, which is, or what I did back when I was more into,
active. The thing is that you're active, bro. You just have life shit going on too. Like, no cap. Like, you got shit going on. You'll figure all that shit out. You're almost done with school. Like, school's got to be stressful enough. You know, you got to fucking Florida State. It can't be that hard. But
I know. I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
I'm an accounting major.
I'm trolling you. No, but like realistically though, like after you get done with a master's programs, no joke. So like I think it shows like how important you take school and like just that shows who you are in general. So you're going to get out of that and we're going to get right back on this thing. And you're going to be like just as active as you were before. So I don't think anybody's worried about TJ Card Collector going anywhere.
Just as active with more
money. We got to disagree in the audience.
Oh no. I'm not like Jason, you know, I like to make my own brand, not just take another one. But
that's rude. That's rude.
No, I'm messing with him, but no. So yeah, I guess we can touch on that a little bit too, as far as, you know, where I was. And I started, so I'm an accounting major. I'm outside of TJ Card Collector. And I find it funny because people on card Twitter, I'll put my opinion out there on things and they'll be like, who are you? You know? And I'm like looking at this person who's like a car salesman. No offense to car salesmen or anything you do, but I'm not going to ask you or correct you on how to sell a car. But when I put my opinion out there on the economy or taxes or how to avoid things on taxes, people are like, oh, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. And I'm like, well, I'm actually not just a card collector.
That's what kind of this whole industry feels. It's all of this entire industry is, you know, finance and people who are just in big business. And it's like, it's cool to see that because you know that there's going to be more growth. You know, it's going to trickle down to the people who are flipping just, you know, retail wax again. Like, believe it or not, I really do think there's going to be a wave of just like random shit like that. Like even base prism. Like I think base prism can be like make a comeback too, where it's like that is like the market. We talked about that like 8 months ago, 12 months ago, that like the prism is kind of like what dictates how well the market's doing.
Yeah, we've just gotten a focus right now on exclusivity, and that's just people just want stuff that's exclusive. People want the things that are going to hit gold at auction, and that's not going to be a base thing. So that's obviously where we've gone, and I think it's just people got into it, and it's kind of like what we talked about. First thing we started ripping was certified, which is ironically what the first thing I ripped was, because it looked cool, it looked exclusive, and it really wasn't.
Exactly, bro.
I think that's what really started in. It's just people really went after base stuff first, and then now we're focusing on like the bigger things. And I think people have had that natural progression, and it all just hit ahead. Obviously, why the market's down a lot of things. So that's just really that's my viewpoint on it.
It was like the influx of people who came in didn't match the knowledge of the hobby. So everyone's like, yeah, people who are in this, you know, for 15 years or even 5 years before this, they're like, yeah, this shit's not gonna last forever.
I mean, if you look at it, dude, like you have like base Luca PSA 10s, and it just
like
they were selling for.
At one point.
Oh, I know they were selling for
like $600 now, right? Or $500.
They were selling for. If you look back on alt.com, like if you go down to the asset search, they were selling for like $65 in 2019, and then 2020 they're selling for like $2,000.
Do you use that alt thing a lot for comps?
Yeah, I do. I have fun with it.
It is. That's interesting. I've never even known you could do that on there.
Yeah,
that seems cool.
Go to the sell history and just go all the way back, and it's like, dude, these things. People that say if you bought 10 $65 Luca PSA 10s back in the day, you spent $650, and you look at Jason.
What's up, buddy? Hey, quick plug for my friends at Alt. Those are some really, really good people, and that's a really valuable tool they've come out with, the alt pricing tool. They don't pay me to say any of this. It's just something I believe in. They're really, really good people, and that's a tool that can really save you in a pinch. If you can't find accurate comps, they give you some good values there. So love the people at Alt, and
shouts Alt. Also shout out the best grader in the card business.
You guys, dude, I will say
that's the best in the business right there. I will say if I sit like I trust him with my cards, so I'm gonna say that, obviously. You know what I mean? I don't think he does everything the right way. So realistically, Jason's like, he's the man. He's part of the reason why I'm at DCI, because like obviously everybody knows him through card Twitter. I'm sure people know him on the card brokers too, and all the staff. A lot of people know him too. But yeah, shout out Alt. They like obviously I didn't know that existed. That's cool to know now that like I can find stuff from 2013. How far does it go back? Do you know?
I don't know how far it goes back, but it goes back to before the boom, like way before the boom.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I like to look at modern cards on there, so I haven't looked too far back. I'm not sure how far it goes back. It's interesting. I've looked into that. But yeah, so back to what we were saying. Yeah, Jason, I've sent a lot of clients to Jason. So or not a lot, but some higher card values and stuff. people to him behind closed doors, which brings up another conversation of stuff that goes on, off the public forum. So I've been pretty active in a lot of that too. I was keeping up, and obviously it's just when I'm laying in bed at midnight when I get home, where usually I was tweeting and everything all day.
Bro,
so
constant.
Yeah.
And
dude,
I wanted to touch on too, because I don't think I mentioned it earlier. Like I say I started during COVID and I wrote stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
In those 2 years, I found my way into the card industry with like money coming in from card businesses, but also money making cards and being in card brokers. So it's like, you can see how you can snowball this industry. I'll call it. I don't want to call it a market yet, but you can snowball this industry into something that you would never imagine if you just put a little effort in on Twitter and you be nice. Cause that's all I've done. Being nice is metaphorical too, because I troll a lot. Like I just talk shit or like comment on people's stuff, or like be funny. Same as you. Like the same sort of stuff that you kind of do is like, at the end of the day, we do that to people we know. You know what I mean? We're not being assholes just to be an asshole. And it's all fun, and it's all fun. It's more fun when you're trying to do it with other people and you're not trying to make enemies with everybody. It's like, don't be a dick. Don't go to shows and be a dick. Go to shows and like enjoy them, because that's what this is what the industry is all about.
That's what it's built on. And I think that's what I built my platform on. It's just being myself more than anything. And myself, I'm a nice guy until I'm not. And then,
and I think that's everybody too, bro. That's everybody too.
Look down my Twitter feed. I mean, even today, I'm just like, I'm super nice to everybody, but if you're an absolute dickhead to me, I'm not going to be nice to you. I mean,
no, you're going to be the opposite. You're going to be
a lot of people. I mean, if you people in the industry that are a little bit too nice, and they get steamrolled. And it's just like business and politics. You can't be too nice. So obviously you want to be welcoming. But if that welcoming is not met, then what are you building your brand on? But you also can't be an antagonist either. And I started out my Twitter basically. I don't know, you weren't around then. I don't think you didn't have a Twitter. But
I've been around the whole time. I think I've been around just as long, if not the same as you. You might have been a little bit before, but like on my Twitter, our Twitters at least are around the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I started getting wax, and that was not, how you enter card Twitter. So I started.
My God,
dude!
That was crazy, and that's what the Card Brokers brand was kind of built on, though. You know what I'm saying? And it's like nobody, and that's why I'm so happy to be associated with just like these types of people, and then ZMed in general, and just like the entire Card Brokers world. And that's why we started this in the first place, because like we fuck with that energy. Is where like, we don't care if other people get mad, because we're making money. And like, if you're making money and you're helping people out, as long as you're not trying to exclude people, and like you're helping everybody out who's coming in, like that is how this industry is going to be built. And I think Card Brokers is like the first stepping stone to stuff that is going to be, a bigger thing in this industry coming soon. TJ, I just wanted to say that, thanks for doing this. Thanks for hitting me up. I know, shout out ZMed too. The call was obviously so ZMed call when we asked him, like, let's go do this thing. He's like, all right, bro, let's do it.
Yeah. Like, so that's the thing, man. It's going to be a learning process through us. But we obviously have had so many conversations together. It's not going to be that hard, but the main focus is going to be on the people who are listening. And that's the thing is talk about our experiences dealing with, every host and what they bring to how they make money. Because I know the biggest thing for me and this growth was seeing how Ryan made money, seeing how MKG made money, seeing how everybody, and it was different things. So like we touched on earlier, the biggest help was Card Brokers. I started, I remember those drops that you could buy 5 boxes from Target or as many as you wanted and turn that into as much profit as you wanted. And as a student, and I think that's what a lot of us are, honestly, I can't speak for the most part, but around the same age area, maybe not a student, but you're paying off loans or something. It's a lot easier to make that loan payment when it came from cardboard than when it is when it came from 40 hours of work. So that's the biggest thing. It's just focusing on how we help people within Card Brokers, and then how people help people make money.
Yeah, of course. And I want to say sorry for my audio too this time. It's not going to be this bad every time. The Wi-Fi internet the internet was just absolutely trash in here. So I have to FaceTime off my phone. It'll be a lot better. I'll have a mixer. I'll have headphones and shit. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning into this episode. Tanner, thanks again for coming and doing it with me. It's going to be a fun ride. We're going to have some good guests on here. You know, I've reached out to plenty of people, and I'm sure if they're going to come on the Card Brokers podcast, it's going to be a good time. So do you got any final words for the peeps?
No, that basically wraps it up, and we'll touch more on, you know, our stories, other people's stories, integrated with whoever we have on. Next week we're going to have on Z-Med himself. Obviously, I think the first episode that we do that's normal, that's not a pilot, should be the man who started this community, and I think that's going to be
let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So we'll see you guys next week, and we'll, you know, continue building, continue adding more assets and facets to what we're doing. So
let's go, Card Brokers. Let's get it.
Thank you for checking out the Card Brokers podcast. Be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have Z-Med on, founder of Card Brokers. And it's going to be a good episode. So we'll ask him some questions about where he's been as far as starting this a couple years ago. And obviously being a 16-year-old and on the top 50 sexiest men in America list, he's got a story to tell. So be sure to check that out.